Hey guys, Jess from Knockout Print Shop. It has been a while since I've done a video, but it is finally planner launch season, so it is time to do some planner reviews. So I just got my 2023 Inkwell press in the mail. I ordered it on launch day, which was the 28th, last Wednesday, and I got it Saturday, October 2nd in the afternoon. So it was pretty quick shipping, which was nice. I will say, continue to be disappointed by the packaging. I was gonna save it, but I don't think I did. It's just like in a priority bubble mailer with like a cardboard, cardboard around it to keep it rigid, and then obviously it's in its cellophane bag and stuff like the usual. But I only ordered the Inkwell Press Classic, which are the vertical inserts. So, but I don't think the packaging changes at all if you order more products. I think it's literally always in these priority mailers now. So I'm not really impressed with that. I know she's not the one shipping and distributing these things anymore. They're coming from California. And as we know, she's in North Carolina. So anyways, there was nothing wrong with the package when it came. So the planner was safe and fine. But for a high-end product, you would expect a higher end packaging, in my opinion. Anyways, let's dive in. So there's a lot I like, and most of it's the same. And there's a few things that I think are a little off. Okay, so this is I didn't buy any covers. This is a cover I bought last year. It's the navy one. I don't even know if you can see that it's navy on camera, but I bought this one last year and didn't even use it. But I use my brown one all the time. All right, so let's just kind of look at each page, see how this goes. Again, I bought the classic. So I do have a half-used set of inserts for 2022 to kind of give you a side-by-side comparison, and that way we can kind of see what has changed and what has not changed. Okay, cover page, exact same. Colors are the same, fonts are completely the same. All right, we're gonna try to go fast through some of this not so exciting stuff. So we have the important dates page. I never use these pages. This is this year. Last year's, you can see layout is the same. Fonts are exactly the same. The only subtle difference you can see is last year's border was a tad bit deeper and darker. This is a little more faint. I don't really have a preference on either. Layout's the same. Again, I don't use these pages, but if you do, you can expect it to look exactly the same as last year. Okay, then we get into the goals pages. Again, I did not really do goal stuff this year, so I did not use these pages. You can refer to my last year video to hear my thoughts on this, because I think this changed to these updated colors. No, last year they went to this color scheme for goals, but this layout was 2 years ago. I still don't like this layout. I think it's aesthetically pleasing. I'm not going to go into this. I have a whole video on this. But from a functionality standpoint, this is very weird, writing in these spaces. Anyways, this is this year, new layout. This is last year. Exactly the same. Again, very subtle differences. Last year's colors were just a tiny bit deeper and darker. These are just a tad fainter, but they're the exact same colors. And you can see, like we had last year, we just have this like teal blue color scheme for the goals, which looks nice. But if you are a goal color coding person, the downfall of this would be is that each area is not a unique color. There's only 3 unique colors. So if you use this portion of the planner, you could obviously kind of try to customize this. When we launched stickers for this last year, we just stuck with this color scheme just to make it easier. But you can expect that to be exactly the same. Last thing that's kind of just standard. This is this year's year at a glance. This is last year's year at a glance. Again, you can just see there's a very subtle difference in the teal color that's on the side, but the fonts are the same. The layout is the same. Last year's font for the month was a little thinner, not as heavyweight. This is a little bolder this year. So you can see it's a little easier to see the month. And she added some holidays are representative of the Pacific time zone. Depending on what moon phase observed, the dates of certain religious holidays may vary by 1 day. I don't know. So that's a little added thing that wasn't on there last time. Okay, so those are the standard normal pages. You can see everything's the same. All right, so then we get into the planner. So what I'm going to do is I have to jump a few months ahead because Matt right now has the mission boards for January, February, March, April, so we can start matching colors. So I'm going to jump into May would be our first one. Okay, so first thing I wanted to show you as we get into this is, let me do this on a different month so you can see. So she changed the sequence of the pages a bit. So this is the end of May. Okay, so we have your 2 note pages at the end, which are also reformatted. We'll talk about in a second. So then you go right into the month calendar, the month view. Then you have your mission board on the left-hand side, and you have your plan, focus, and habit tracker on the right. So instead of having the mission board lead the new month and this page be in the back, she shifted that. So now the calendar, the month calendar comes first, mission board, plan, focus, and habit tracker. Logistically, this makes sense to me, obviously, because you're planning, you're doing your goal setting, got your habits is all on a page. This is no longer in the back. Let me show you. I don't want to be, I'm trying to be not so wordy, but so you can see last year, like you go to October, this is your mission board, then you, holy crap, go to the month, and then you go to your week, and then this piece is at the back. So I get it from a functionality standpoint why she did this, but for me, I think I'm just so accustomed to having that mission board be first. It feels like the cover page for the month. I'm not a huge fan of that. I would have, I think, preferred mission board, month calendar, maybe like a note page, and then this. But I think people requested that this page be moved back up towards the front. Okay, so let's go to color schemes. So spoiler alert, I like all of them except for one, but it's just personal preference. So basically, similar to last year, what you can expect is she has like a main color for each month, which is represented typically by these two hexagons. And then these teal, so boom, 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 are the same or darn near the same on every single palette along with these grays. So last year, what we did was we didn't make up our own complementary colors or anything like that. We just took a gradient of her main color. So every sticker sheet had like a dark, medium, and light. And then we also sold an additional just teal palette and gray palette. We'll talk about what we're going to do this year, but this is a similar scheme she's using again with the teals and grays as the one you'll see in every single month. And then you'll have kind of like a focus color. So this one is blue. She's starting to release the names on Instagram. I'm not on Instagram anymore, as you guys know, so I'm literally going on my desktop to instagram.com/InkwellPress and not logging in to see what I can see. And she started to reveal the names of these and show these. Now, this is, again, like last year, she did this after launch. I don't know why she doesn't do this as anticipation of launch, so people that are excited about the color schemes can be really pumped. And then on the 28th, like, buy stuff. For whatever reason now, she launches the planner and then does these color reveals, and she does them like 1 per day or 2 per day, which I also find a pain. And unless you look on her website at the month bundle or the monthly inserts, that shows you a very subtle preview of this top band of each color, you don't even see the color schemes. So if you buy the planner, you won't even know what the color schemes really look like until now that she's putting on Instagram Reels. So just found out today, this one is called Mediterranean. I do like this. I like the blues. The teals are fine. I guess these go okay together-ish. You'll find that these colors, I don't think always go with the main color for the month. I feel like they're not necessarily complementary, but whatever. So I do like this. It's a subtle smoky blue. It's not too baby blue. I think it just has a good feel to it. And then here is your week view. So this is obviously the classic. I didn't even buy the Flex this year. Nothing changed about these layouts. Nothing has changed for years. So since I personally don't use the Flex and we already have the measurements for the Flex, I didn't want to waste the money. I bought it last year and didn't even use it. So same thing, nothing's changed. We still have this banner at the top. I wish this would go away. I don't like the banner. This colored piece here, I wish it was open like it used to be. These are nice and faint, so that's nice. It's easy to write on here and you're not going to have, won't be hard to see what you have written. The thing I think that, let me show you that I find very hard from an accessibility standpoint, meaning like ability for people to read, especially people that have challenges with their vision, is the size of this font. So first of all, I'm sure you've heard me complain. I know a lot of you agree. I don't like these words on the side, which is why we sell our cover strips. So it's that escalate, cultivate, accommodate. It has something to do with her productivity method, which I don't use. This is like a 6-point font. This is more probably like an 8. I can see this. The font's a little heavier weight. It's a little bolder. So if I was into this, I'd be happy with this font size. This is tiny, tiny, tiny. I don't know why. Maybe she's trying to make it smaller so people aren't bothered by it so much. So there's that. The only other difference is I'm looking at the two now, the dotted line here that you use to write on, is a little more pronounced dots. Like these dots are smaller and there's more of them and they're closer together. These dots are a tiny bit bigger than last year and they're a little more spaced apart. So that has a little bit different of a look. For some reason, and my eyes could be deceiving me, before this end of the video, I might have to get a ruler out, but I feel like this space is narrower. I don't know. And then this is a very solid line. Last year, this was a little less dark. So again, this is the right-hand side. This is last year. This is this year. Yeah. So for the most part, it's the same thing we're used to. It looks like maybe, I'll take a page out here just so we can test this. This video is not going to be short. Who am I kidding? Yeah, that's what I thought. I think you can see this year's header is just ever so slightly shorter. It's not as tall as the previous year. So what Matt's going to have to do probably is make sure there's the same amount of lines. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. There's not. Okay, so for whatever reason they changed that. We'll have to go through and see. Yeah, this is off now. So he'll probably have to redo the cover strips, redesign those because that is a little off. And it even looks like these boxes are bigger. I don't know if you can tell. Oh, hold on. Do you see? Let's see. Hold on. Yeah, I think the daily boxes, if I line up these two lines, they're bigger. So for whatever reason, there are subtle differences this year to the specs of the spaces. So again, I'm going to need to measure the width because now I'm worried that every year for how many ever 7 years we've been doing this may be a little different. Okay, so let me move on. I'm kind of going, this is a raw, I haven't looked at the planner this closely yet, so we're getting this is live. All right, so, okay, this is a blue color. You guys know how this planner works. As much as I like this lighter color, it almost looks like this muddy gray, which to me isn't found anywhere on here. So per usual, you can see too, if I take this page out, this is nothing like this. I don't know where she gets the color for the daily boxes when you have this plethora of 1, 2, 3, 4 blues from your actual palette. Would you not think you would use the lightest blue down here? But for some reason, she pulls a totally different color. I mean, it's almost more gray. I don't know. Again, I don't dislike this color scheme, but just the like detail behind like picking things that, because these don't even look like they match. Like a lighter version of this would have made more sense. I don't know. Fonts are incredibly small on these little accent words like notes and the stuff like that. Weekly focus is the same. All right. So if we get back here to this last page before we go to the next one, the notes and ramblings page, she did redesign, which I like that. So let me show you guys a comparison to this year. So this year's was what it's been for a while, which is just a bigger text that says notes and ramblings and then just this dot grid. Now we have a little smaller text. We have about 3/4 of the page or 2/3 of the page lined, and then we have dot grid. Again, these lines this year, the dots that make up the lines, because she doesn't use just a solid line, she uses tiny dots, are a little bit more, they're a little bigger and a little wider space, so you can kind of tell that they're dots versus when they're smaller and smushed together, it almost just looks like a fuzzy line. So I do like this layout. I think it's easier to use and take notes. Okay, next one. Second palette is called Fiesole. It's named after, I guess, a town in Italy. So I do like this. I love greens. I love olivey, earthy greens, so I like that. So I definitely am into that. Let me see, before we flip out of the month, the other thing I was going to say is you could see that the holidays printed on here are like really tiny. Okay, so let me show you February from last year. You can see here where it says Valentine's Day. Look at where this says like Juneteenth and Father's Day. I mean, this is like a 6-point font. That is really hard to read. Even for somebody with good vision, I find that really, I get not wanting to make it in your face. Like I get like making it subtle so people have room to more space per box, but that's freaking small. I don't know what you guys think about that, but I find that really just not, it's hard to read. Okay, so like the color. All right, we go into here. So you can see again, we have this like main green, it goes a little lighter and a little lighter. And then we have these same teals just to show you. I'm just gonna keep taking pages in and out. Is my video still recording? Yes, okay. So you can see we have these teals. These are the same for every palette. And then you're gonna have your color per month is like this and this. So you can see that. Again, I love this olive green. I don't necessarily think it goes with the teal. I get for simplicity and just logistics why she did that, but I don't know. I don't think it looks good. I would rather just have gray and green, but I don't think that would probably look right in the hexagon. So again, we see this layout change. Okay, top, this one looks more cohesive. So we have the mid-tone of the green with the like kind of ombre hexagon thing pattern subtly behind it, and then we have a lighter green down here. I don't know, I don't want to rip these pages, but again, it's not really one of the colors from the palette. Maybe this one a little bit, but at least this one looks a little more cohesive and balanced with the top header. So again, we see this tiny, tiny letters for the words there. And then, I mean, look at how small that text is here, tiny. So we got these pages. All right, this one, I'm not a pink person, so I'm not into this. So this one, freaking pink as pink can be. I don't even know if this is picking up on camera, but this is pink. It is called Gelato, and we have had a color scheme called Gelato many years ago, and it was purple from her. This is like the very beginning years of Inkwell Press. But if you like pink, it is a pink pink. This is a bright pink. So again, you can see, not to just beat a dead horse, but you have your main colors here and then your teals. This to me makes more sense. This teal and pink are kind of complementary. So this, I think, probably, even though I personally don't like pink, this looks like the most cohesive on the mission board. So there's that. But that's your Gelato. So again, you can see even in this pink, because pink is so light, this is very tiny, tiny text. This too is a little more balanced. The bottom leans a little more coral or salmon to me, but it does feel a little more cohesive. So the green and the pink so far from the weekly pages feels more cohesive. All right, so then we obviously have that. And then this last one, as of the recording of this video, she has not released the color of it. I really like yellow, so I like this. If you don't like yellow, it is yellow. You're not gonna like it. But you have this bright yellow. It is very bright. Same thing, we have our main colors here, which is variations of yellow, and then we have our teals and grays. This, again, is a tiny bit better as far as the teals and yellows going together, but I don't know, a little weird for me, but I do like the yellow. Now, from an accessibility standpoint, yellow, tiny font on a white background is one of the hardest things to read. So I would not have done that. Maybe she's trying to accommodate people like myself that do not like the words, but if you do like the words, have fun trying to read that very quickly. This yellow to me, I mean, I guess it's pretty close to that one, so it's at least a more balanced. The one thing I've said before that I don't like about this header is just aesthetically to me, it's heavy, and I like weight at the bottom of the page visually. Now, I know you wouldn't want to have a dark color down here because this is a lot of writing space, but to me, this feels imbalanced because it's not grounded. All the weight of this bold headers at the top, and then this is light. Please, for the love of God, Tanya, get rid of this header and go back to how it used to be where this was open and white. Or the text was colored and then the background was the paper. So I like the yellow. It's a little bright, but I do like the yellow. Okay, so we go through, you can see this is the usual, and then we obviously repeat that how many more times. All right, so let's get into the extra pages. I don't care about these pages, I never use them, but let me show, since she's not doing a planner flip through, I might as well. So we have the gift list. Let's see if I even have this stuff from last year to compare. Oh, I do. So this is last year's here on the right. So you can see this year she made it more like a chart, lines here. This used to be like rounded rectangular boxes, again, dotted lines. Just a little darker, a little lighter last year, or this year. This is the gratitude one. So she redesigned this a little bit. We have the month number and the month below. Before she just had that centered. This is nice. I think aesthetically this looks nice. Probably a little harder to write in than this, because here you just have that whole space. This you kind of have to work around it, but it is a little more aesthetically pleasing. Again, I don't use these pages, so I don't really care. Bucket list looks the same except for smaller font for the main part. The secondary font here, this bottom text is a little bolder than last year, and it's like italicized. So we have that, and then I also don't use this monthly automations page, but this looks like, if you can see from the side, they're laid out exactly the same. This year looks like she left justified the header of it. It's a little more green versus the blue, but we've seen that with the header throughout this. But that is the same. I used to love this, but since I do everything with YNAB now, I never use this. But I know these are sideways, but you can see, basically the same. Except for last year's, this, where the months were, was a band of color. Now it is just open. As much as I hate bands of color, I will say if you like this, and I used to love this sheet, the one thing that makes this a little bit harder to read is there's not a lot of differentiation between like sections. So while I don't like bands of color typically, I think it did work here because you're not looking at just so much text. But again, I'm a fan of this insert. I just personally don't use it anymore. The project plan one, I never use this. What do we have different? This year it's like a rounded tab. It was like a little flag before, rounded tab. This leans a little more green. This leans a little more blue. And then what do we got after that? Then we have the grid paper, which now that I'm looking at this, I'm not a fan. So this is this year, new 2023, or coming year 2023. This is last year. So because this band, this stupid header again, is so thick, you're taking up writing space. I love the grid paper, but I like the grid paper because I like to write on the grid paper. I don't need a 2.5 inch, so 2-inch header here. And before I liked the borderless printing where the grid went to the edge of the page. This has this like, it's like a grid, but it's in a box. So there's a white border around the whole thing. The dots are, again, the dots are bigger and farther apart that are making up the line, so they're more apparent. This had a mix of smaller dots to make up the lines with solid lines. So I definitely like this grid paper better than what she did here. So you get your 5 or so pages there. And then last but not least, you have your next year calendar. This is the one for 2023. This is the one from last year. So you can see the layouts are exactly the same. Okay, so that is the planner. Let me just make sure I'm doing good on time and my camera's not turned off. No, we're good. We still have a few minutes. Okay. Why did I think this is going to be a short video? So overall, for the most part, I like 3 of the 4 color patterns. I like the blue, which is Mediterranean. I like the green, which is Fiesole. I am not into this pink. It's a nice pink, but I don't love pink. It's not gonna like make me not get the planner clearly. And the yellow I like. We have no idea what it's called yet, but I do like the yellow. I'm need to see about these lines because I feel like these columns might be narrower. This is such a subtle thing that seems so insignificant, but I don't necessarily like that these dots, and you'll see this if you buy the planner up close. I don't know if you can see this. The dots are a tiny bit bigger with more space between them, so they're more pronounced. You can see it's a dotted line. Before they were smaller with less space, so it just looked like a very subtle line. And then again, just the specs on these different spaces are changed for who knows. I don't even know why. Like sometimes Inkwell just does these random dimension things for no reason. Like just change the colors if that's all you want to do. Okay, so that's what I like. I think the fonts are too small where there is fonts. And okay, so what we're thinking of doing this year, guys, for colors, for those of you that are still Inkwell fans, I know her fan base, at least in this planner sticker community world, is dwindling. We all love her paper, but some of the things that they've done we're not all in love with. But anyways, I have been using my Inkwell Classic the most of this year. So I don't know, we'll see if I'll use it again this coming year, 2023. So what we're thinking for stickers. Last year, like I said, we did a gradient for each palette. So like for Mediterranean, we would do on a sticker sheet, the dark, the medium, and the light, and just kind of have it as a gradient. And then we sold a teal sheet separately and a gray sheet separately. So let's say you wanted check boxes, you could get the color of the month, or you could buy just the gray, or you could just buy the teal. Gray and the teal did not do well. We thought that was going to be a very popular idea. It did not do well. I personally think partly, as much as I love these two colors, I don't like the teal on the weekly up against almost every color for that month. I don't like how it looks here, so I'm not going to use, like I would not put teal stickers here. I think that looks weird against the blue. Gray, I would if I wanted just a very subtle, planning style, like even more functional than what I personally do. What I found using the gradient is I would have rather just had one color on a sheet so that it wasn't like, oh, if I was doing all my check boxes, then sometimes if on my sheet I ran out of the darkest one, now I have some dots that are the darkest, some dots that are the lightest. I was like, oh, that's super annoying. So I think what we're going to do this year is one color per palette. So I think we're going to pick the mid-tone. This is a little dark, the darkest color, especially on something like a blue. So when you write over it, it's going to be harder to see. Hopefully we'll test it out. We'll probably do for Mediterranean, we'll probably have a blue. And then for Fiesole, we'll probably do this mid-tone green. And then for Gelato, we'll do the mid-tone pink. And for whatever the heck the yellow is going to be called, we would do this yellow. As you guys know, if you've been customers for a while and Inkwell Press Planner people, when we make stickers of the lightest color or even the semi-lightest color, sometimes they're not as functional because there's not a lot of, when they're in a tiny little sticker, sometimes they don't differentiate themselves enough and they kind of are harder to see the details. And I don't know if you guys feel the same about like having, you know, on a sticker sheet, like let's say again, it's check boxes, you have, you know, 2 rows that are this color, 2 rows that are this color, 2 rows that are this color. I personally think I would just rather have yellow, kind of how Moxie is. Moxie's like all the, you know, if it's pink, it's all pink. If it's blue, it's all blue. So that's what I think we're going to do. Matt's working on color matching now. This takes a little bit of time to try to get. Yellows are typically one of the harder ones for us. Anything that's brighter, just the kind of printer we use, the brighter colors always present a little bit of a challenge for us because we don't have white ink in our printer to make it as vibrant as we'd like. But so that's what we're thinking. If you plan on buying the Inkwell Press Planner, let me know your thoughts if you like the idea of just having one color per palette. So if you just want, again, pink for Gelato, blue for Mediterranean, green for Fiesole, and then yellow for the yellow one. That's what we're thinking of doing. But yeah, so I'm pretty happy with the colors. I do like them better than last year's. Last year I really liked this blue. I don't even remember what the heck the colors were called. What I didn't like last year was, I liked the teal and I liked the blue. I did not like this like burgundy-ish pink. And then we had like a purple and I was like, oh my God, I'm so sick of these pinky reddish purples. And I used to love purple. So I didn't like those 2 colors. I like this year that we have like 4 distinct colors, yellow, pink, blue, and green. I like that. Okay. This video is almost half an hour long. Okay, guys, I hope that was helpful. Let me know if you have any questions. Let me know if you plan on getting one of the Inkwell Press planners or if you're just like, that ship sailed, I'm not into that planner anymore. And then if you have thoughts on stickers, like what color you would like to see, do you want to have a gradient or do you want to have a single color per palette? Let us know. And that's it. I will talk to you guys soon. Happy planner launch season. Okay, really quick. I had to make sure and measure this to see if I was losing my mind. So this year, the line spacing is a tiny bit more narrow. This is usually, the line spacing for Inkwells are usually around 0.22, 0.225. This is like 0.21, so it's a little bit, the line spacing is a little narrower, so it's not as tall, just tiny bit. This is wider than, so last year's is wider, the columns from dotted line to dotted line. It is narrower this year. It's usually around 0.6 something. It's like 0.5, just over 0.5. And then the line that you write on, last year's was like I think Matt said 0.1, or sorry, this is 1.6-ish. This is 1.5, a little over 1.5. This line that you write on is like 1.4-ish. This is like 1.3, I think he said. So I'm not, don't quote me exactly right on all of this because he was telling me lots of numbers, but lines this year, little bit shorter, they're not as tall. Columns are a tiny bit more narrow. Lines that you write on are a tiny bit more narrow. This is very subtle. We're talking tenths of an inch. But I personally, one of my favorite things about Inkwell was that even though it's a vertical, I like that these columns feel wide. When I look at this, it just feels narrow, and that's one of my challenges with Moxie Life's verticals. It feels narrow, the columns. So anyways, I was right. There's some dimension changes for no apparent reason. But okay, that's all.